Southwest Topeka has a good neighbor. State Farm agent Jim Garrison, now at 29th and Urish. If your current insurance situation has you going around in circles, get off the roundabout and stop in and meet Jim and his wonderfully efficient staff. Let Jim Garrison give you a quote and make the Garrison comparison. He's confident that with State Farm's competitive rates, the right coverage, and his unmatched service, you'll want to make him your new insurance agent. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and Jim Garrison is there for you, northeast of the roundabout at 29th and Urish.
When someone has a passion for what they do, it comes through in the product they provide their customers. Just ask LaRocco's Pizza's new owner, Jason Johnson, about their crust. They make it every day and let it rise for a minimum of 24 hours before they use it for their pizza. And his staff doesn't want to do anything they won't be the best at, and you can taste it in their pizza. LaRocco's Pizza, just a half block north of the I-470 and Gage Boulevard exit. Come taste the difference.
It's time for Real Estate 101 with the Carrie Brown team from Preferred Advisors.
Good Saturday morning to you. This is Carrie Brown, Associate Broker with eXp Realty and the Preferred Advisors team, and you're listening to Real Estate 101. My co-host for the month is Brian Weiss, and he is with Legacy Post and Beam. This is a Nebraska company. And Brian, I'm going to let you explain what you guys do. First off,
sure.
Tell us what you do for the company and all that good stuff.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us. We appreciate it. We're excited to talk a little legacy on Saturday here. So I'm Brian. I am basically our general manager of our company, and we started off as kind of a small bootstrap company. So I've had the chance to kind of do it all from the ground up, and so it's kind of fun to see how we've grown over the years, but also having the experience. I think as a group, between us all of us, we have done close to 500 structures over the years. Not all with Legacy Post and Beam. I think Legacy has done close to 300. But it's kind of an honor and exciting to see how the company has grown and how we sit inside of the marketplace and how we can help people, achieve their dreams, especially if they like rustic construction. A lot of people ask, so Legacy Post and Beam, we build post and beam kits. Well, what is a kit? It's not just hiring a general contractor to build you your house or your barn or your commercial venue or pavilion or whatever it may be that you like. Basically when we build a kit, we're basically doing the difficult design and cutting part of huge timbers and posts and beams. You can't go to the local hardware store and buy saws that can cut this stuff. If you were to hire a local contractor, they wouldn't necessarily have the know-how and the time efficiency to do one of these cost-effectively. And especially as artists and contractors kind of fall to the wayside, there's a big need for companies similar to us that know how to get things done, it look nice, it engineer the way it's supposed to, and in a cost-effective manner. And so that's kind of where we fill the void. Post and beam, on a fundamental level, is basically big posts and beams being the main part of the structure. So a lot of people think we're similar to a log structure, and we're not. Logs are basically logs stacked on top of each other to build your walls, and then the roof system can be conventional trusses, could be rafters, could be anything. It's honestly very similar to stick frame type construction, the same rules that you would follow with log construction. What we do is a lot different, where instead of trying to put all the weight throughout an entire wall, we're able to put all the weight into a few posts and beams, and it transfers down that way. And so it enables you to have more open floor plans, a lot of design flexibility, if you like the rustic timber look. It's definitely not for everybody, and if someone wants, a big contemporary house, you can still do it with timbers, but, it's not a great fit for everybody in their taste per se, but for those looking for timber-style construction, it's a really good option.
So whenever you you meet with someone for the first time, or sometimes I would assume you're not even actually meeting them, they're going off of your website, what are the first things that you would say to them whenever they're picking their designs?
Yeah, that's interesting you say that. We only get to meet about 1/3 of the customers that we do work for, which is very interesting. Obviously, technology is a big part of it. Being able to have a nice website and go through pictures. Obviously, email with PDF design files and so on and so forth really help with that. We put a big focus on education in the way we do our approach, rather than Carrie, if you were interested in something, me telling you, hey, this is what you need. We're going to present you with options that may make sense, and then educate you on those and let you decide what's best for you. So we try to approach it more in that manner. But yeah, meeting a customer for the first time, there's a lot of big questions. How does this work? Why would I buy a kit? What is a kit? What all do you provide? What don't you provide? How can this work in my scenario? And so, typically when we're going through that, we talk about a kit. And essentially what we provide is all of the material for the shell of a structure. Whether it's a house, whether it's a venue, a barn, pavilion, cabin, whatever. Post and beam framework can be any one of these types of structures, and we try to be able to help in any of those scenarios. And so, we're talking about certain things. We're not a general contractor. We don't actually come and build this kit on your job site. We basically do all of the hard parts with the big timbers to make it easy for any contractor to put up a post and beam structure, especially one that hasn't seen one before. And so I would say, 60% of our structures are put up by contractors and owners who have never seen a post and beam structure before and understand it. And the way we approach things is, very educative. We're very helpful during the construction process. We make something that's difficult seem easy for them. And, it's such a joy seeing people's dreams come to reality and making it easy. Because it's not an easy style of construction. Most contractors aren't familiar with it, but at the same time, if they're open-minded and a couple phone conversations and bam, they got it. And it's no big deal. They just, follow the plans and build it, and it goes pretty smooth and pretty fast. I would say when you build a kit, we're saving about 1/3 of the on-site time that a standard contractor would have to do. So it does save time on the job site as well, where basically they're just putting back together our big bench frames, is what we call it, is essentially a timber truss with legs. They put them back together and then stand them up on top of the foundation. So when we're working with a customer, we'll kind of go over those sorts of things on, what is a kit, how does it work, how does it fit in my scenario. Building a kit is not necessarily hitting the easy button for a customer. We do the foundation design. We can have it stamped in pretty much every state by an engineer. So we can handle all of those things. But a contractor or a customer is going to have to take, our plans and get bids from different concrete contractors to get their foundation put in and hire the right contractor and just follow the plans and put it in. And so it's not like we're taking care of those things. And some general contractors will just take our plan and take care of it for our customer. But it's not necessarily always hitting the easy button for a customer. And so we talk with customers about, how that process works. In regards to like the building designs and how to get, someone has a vision of their house or their barn or whatever, how can we get there? And that's honestly the fun part. It's like almost like putting a puzzle together, and we're trying to fit within a customer's budget yet accomplish the things they want to accomplish. And just like in any home, a lot of the cost swings can be due to interior finishes. And so we talk with the customer through, typical finishes for everything, kitchen, bathroom, flooring. Obviously, some customers might have a modest kitchen, and some customers, budget's not an object, and they spend whatever they want to, and so we see that with post and beam construction as well. We see, different budgets for different things, and we try to set our customers up for success depending on, what their tastes and likes are for budget. And so that's a big thing. We try to help customers, obviously we want to design a structure within their budget. So that's a big thing that we talk about and make sure that we are on the right track, because someone can come in and want to build a huge 4-bedroom house, and you know what, that's just going to be over your budget. However, you can still build a really nice 4-bedroom house within your budget, and here's how we can get there. We talk about...
You had mentioned that you guys actually service different areas. So what states do you cover?
So pretty much any of the lower 48 states. We could technically ship up to Alaska. We've talked to several customers up there, and we would, barge our kit up there. But the lower 48 states is easy. Essentially, if it can get to your job site in a semi-truck, we can help you. And we've built kits in most every state. I don't think we've ever done some of the very northeastern states like Maine, but pretty much sprinkled across the country, northwest to southeast, northeast to southwest. We have kits trickled around all over the country. We ship for free within 500 miles, and then past 500 miles, the customer would, pick up the cost difference in shipping. And, a big advantage for that is, especially if you go to the East Coast or West Coast where there's, higher standards of living, they might spend, 8 or 9% of their kit budget on shipping costs, but, local contractors may have I think the East Coast is a 22% higher standard of living, and so they're really saving about 10 to 15%. And so we're more competitive than a person would think, even when we're shipping across the country.
And you guys are based in Nebraska, correct?
Yep, you got it. Yep, we're right in the middle of the country, right here. We're not far from Omaha, Nebraska. We're kind of 20 minutes northwest from the west side of Omaha, in a town of Fremont, Nebraska. About 25,000 people here. We're in a really good shipping part of the country. That's one of the reasons why we're here, especially with flatbed shipping. We get a lot of our raw materials from the Pacific Northwest. Bringing it into the center of the country is a very cost-effective line, and then we're able to ship from here very cost-effectively because there's a lot of flatbed semi-transportation around here as well, in addition to us and other companies. So there's a lot of favorable rates coming into this area, and so it's a really good shipping advantage where we're located here in the central part of the United States.
I had actually heard about you from a friend that's actually a real estate agent out of Alabama, and you guys, they had gotten a Morton type, I call it a Morton building, but it's actually a big barn, and turned it into, it has a guest quarters, but then it also has all the parking and everything that they were looking for. So that's how I heard about you guys, and I thought, well, that is such a neat concept, because there are several people that I knew that could actually, they had the skills with either themselves or their family to put this structure up, but wanted to build, and just we weren't able to get it into their budget. So let's talk about plan-wise. Where do your costs start at on a basic, let's start with a barn-type structure.
Okay. Obviously, depending on the roof line and the size, the bigger you go, the less cost per square foot, per se, it is. So the smaller you go, you think of, your walls, there's costs in your walls and your siding and your wall framing, obviously. Well, the closer they are, the less open area you have in the middle, the more cost per square foot you have. A standard barn structure, and obviously how our kits are priced out is we basically have a base kit price, which would be if you're building a barn. It essentially includes everything you would need to build the shell of the structure, Obviously, there's a few things like nail gun type fasteners that aren't included because everyone has a different brand of nail gun. And then, if a person wanted a loft in that barn, they could add it. If they wanted a, barn windows, we manufacture barn doors and barn windows, we can add it. And let me pull up an example of a price and kind of some sizes just to give you an idea.
And while you're doing that, we're going to take a quick break for a word from our sponsors. We'll be back for more, and we'll break down what those costs are so you'll get a pretty good idea of what you're looking at. Be sure and join us here in just a few.
It's the season for brand new mulch, and Brown's Tree Service has got your yard covered. Brown's Tree Service utilizes hardwood mulch that retains more moisture. Not only does mulch make your yard more appealing, it also reduces weeds, improves soil, and creates insulation for plants. Get the right mulch for your job at Brown's Tree Service. They shred it, haul it, and spread it in bulk. Or you can haul it yourself for the personal touch to your property. Call Brown's Tree Service at 785-379-9212 or visit online at brownstreeservicelc.com.
At SportsMomsUnited.com, we celebrate every athlete and support every sports mom. SportsMomsUnited.com is on a mission to put logic back in youth sports. When you ask young athletes why they play sports, their number one answer is fun. For them, that means being on a team, making new friends, having a good time, all of which are awesome memories. We add to the memories by featuring an athlete of the day and sharing their story. Nominate an athlete today at www.sportsmomsunited.com.
When someone has a passion for what they do, it comes through in the product they provide their customers. Just ask LaRocco's Pizza's new owner, Jason Johnson, about their crust. They make it every day and let it rise for a minimum of 24 hours before they use it for their pizza. And his staff doesn't want to do anything they won't be the best at, and you can taste it in their pizza. LaRocco's Pizza, just a half block north of the I-470 and Gage Boulevard exit. Come taste the difference.
Thanks for joining us again. This is Carrie Brown, Associate Broker with eXp Realty and the Preferred Advisors team, and you're listening to Real Estate 101. And I am back with my co-host for the month, Brian Weiss. Brian is with Legacy Post and Beam out of Nebraska. Prior to the break, we were talking about a barn-style structure. Man, that's hard to say. And Brian was just about to go through costs associated with that. So, Brian, take it away.
Yeah, you have to say that barn-style structure. Say that 3 times fast.
It's really hard.
So I'm basically going to go through a few just sample sizes and give you some pricing. As a barn, so to start off with here, I just pulled up a project. It's a really neat project, and you can view pictures on our website, legacypostandbeam.com. Essentially what this is it's a barn that is 22-foot wide center gable section, and so it's got a kind of an A-frame roof peak, 10-12 pitch on that center, and then it's got a lean-to on one side of the structure. And the width of this building is 34-foot wide total. The loft, the center section is 22 foot, and then the lean-to is 12, and it's 36 foot deep. And so the main floor level is a total of 1,224 square feet, and our base kit cost is $37,206, and that's 500 miles free shipping. Obviously, if there's sales tax in an area, we have to conform to all sales tax laws, so there could be sales tax depending on the location. If you break that down into a cost per square foot of footprint basis, we're just over $30 cost per square foot of footprint. Now, in this particular design, you would be able to put in a 22 by 36 square foot loft, and essentially all you would need is loft joist, decking on top of those loft joists, and stairs to get upstairs. And you could, add quite a bit of square footage for maybe, $5 a square foot of cost for some loft materials. And so lofts in post and beam structures are extremely cost effective. You have a true vaulted ceiling. You have structural beams. Essentially all you need to do is add loft joists, decking, and stairs, and you have a loft. And so if you looked at it that way, the cost per square foot would be much less. But as a rule of thumb, we try to look at things by cost per square foot of footprint.
So when we're talking about the structure itself, when it arrives, what kind of lumber are we looking at?
So when we send out a kit, like what we talked about, the basis of post and beam construction is a big timber truss with legs. We call them bents. In this particular example, each bent is spaced at 12 foot apart. So you have 4 bents, and when we build them and we take them apart, disassemble the bents and ship them, we basically ship out each bent in its own package that's all lumber wrapped, so to help protect it from the weather and the sun. So when it arrives to your site, your building site, it's essentially on a semi-flatbed where each bent is pre-built, everything's pre-drilled, and it's ready to be put back together. And so on that semi-truck, you would have, your bent frames, basically it just looks like bunks of lumber. You have a shipping crate which has all of your hardware. You have, obviously if you have knee braces, and then, you would have wall framing that gets bunked up, roof sheathing, roof underlayment, all those other things. It basically shows up on a semi-flatbed that you would then unload yourself. When we ship it out, it does not have a lift attached to the flatbed. It's basically something the customer would need to unload. And granted, when they build their kit, they typically are going to use that same machine anyway, so it kind of works hand in hand to unload their kit.
So the exterior structure, so we've got the interior, the posts and the beams, and the exterior structure. So you're saying you have the roof sheathing and all of that. The consumer would need to go out and get their siding and their shingles as far as the exterior. What about windows? How far into that do you go?
So the siding is included in our kit. Our standard siding is a vertical board and batten siding, and our roof sheathing, first standard is a rough cut pine board with roof underlayment, and then like the shingles would not be included in our kit. You would typically have your roofer supply the roofing material. In regards to the windows and doors, this is kind of a neat option. You can purchase barn windows and barn doors from us, but at the same time, you definitely don't have to. Windows and doors are something that a lot of people like to see in person. It's a hard thing to order out of a catalog, but during our design phase, whether you're purchasing those from us or not, we will still draw them in. And the project that we talked about pricing before, they ended up putting overhead garage doors on it. We drew them in, made sure that the engineering and the wall deflection and all of that worked out with their garage doors. They provided their own windows and exterior doors, but we were still able to draw them into the CAD plans. That way the builder knew what to expect, and we put, standard window sizes in those plans. And, you definitely don't have to purchase that from us, but the wall framing and the siding is included in our standard kit.
And that, what we were just talking about, was how much again?
Just over $37,000 for that particular kit.
That is amazing.
This base barn kit was about $30 per square foot of footprint, just to give you an idea.
So obviously, you would still have to have the ground. You would have to have the ground purchased. You would have to have someone to come out and lay your foundation.
Correct.
And have all of that ready to go. And then whenever the shipment arrives, that's when the puzzle goes together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And as a rule of thumb, like you said, you'll have to have your job site, and we'll do the foundation plan. Obviously, you'd have to have a way to drive up there, so you might have some driveway costs and those sorts of things. But in regards to just building a barn, as a rule of thumb, if you double our kit price, that's about what you can build that barn for all in. For average construction, contractor cost, labor, for example, machinery rental, roof, standard roofing material, standard windows and doors. Yeah, that's kind of a good rule of thumb to use. If you double the kit cost, you can build that. So in this example, if you were buying a few garage doors, a couple windows and doors, all in, you'd probably be an $80,000 to an $85,000 barn, maybe close to $90,000 if you had a full loft in there.
And that's a total square footage of, if you had a loft.
Yep. So the footprint's 1,224 square feet. The loft would be 792 square feet. So let's add that up. So if you divided that out, you'd be just over 2,000 square feet. All in, you'd be at about $44. Let's call it $45 per cost per square foot to build that barn.
That is amazing.
The neat thing with barns is it's essentially the same frame when you go to living space. So all we're essentially doing is making the walls insulatable, adding a little bit of a different roof frame structure with insulation that you can't see from the inside. And so when you're converting from a barn into a living space, it's all the same similar framework. You're just adding to where everything is insulated, and it makes it nice. And so when you're looking at cost for a barn, building a post and beam structure is more expensive than say a post frame building like a Morton type structure. We're not just burying wood poles in the ground. These buildings are built on a foundation, and but when you're making them into living space, you're really not changing a whole lot to the structure, and so these are a lot more cost effective as living space, especially when you have loft square footage. These become very similar in cost, or in the same ballpark range as a standard stick frame structure. Not a spec home, I would say, but if you're just building a standard, custom built stick frame house, the cost difference is very similar, especially if you're going with any sort of a vaulted ceiling or a loft overlooking a great room, or if you're putting any rustic components into your house. You may even spend more. You may as well do the real thing if that's what you like.
Absolutely. So when it comes to actually putting it together, and let's just say you are capable of running the machinery, you do understand the basic construction process. Do you have a lot of people that put it together themselves?
Yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I just talked to one this morning in Iowa. He built his own kit, and they had a good construction background, but him and his son essentially are building his house. And so, I always say, let's talk at least once a week. Go over, because it could be just a little trick, and if we can give someone a little trick that they weren't thinking about, and it saves them time in the long run, we may as well have a talk. And we do have a pretty extensive construction guide that they can read through that talks about a lot of the little tricks that you can do to build these more efficiently. But yeah, we talk about once a week, and right now they have the whole structure up, and they're putting on insulation panels, and and they've had a great experience. It's went really smooth. It's went really fast, and just a good month of work, they almost have their shell dried in.
I really like the fact that you don't just ship it and drop them. You actually are still having the conversations and helping them. Absolutely. I mean, it's a different style of a construction, and so if we didn't make ourselves available, I don't think people would be too happy with us if they had a simple question, And there is little tricks, and it is different. And I always tell everybody, building these is not hard. It's just different. And so we go over as much as we can, and we try to approach things a little differently. We're, down-home people that, our approach the whole time is being, education-based, and same with during the construction process. We have a lot of experience with these structures, and we can help people with our experience, then it makes their job way easier in the field. So we are already at the end of the show. Let them know, how do they get a hold of you if they are looking to, or where should they go if they're looking to do a Legacy Post and Beam project? So the easiest way is just jump on our website,
www.legacypostandbeam.com. You can scroll through there. You can request a brochure from us. We try to be very helpful. We're not a salesy type company, so if you have a question, just ask it, because we're going to give you a true, honest answer. But the best way is probably through the website, or you can call our phone number, which is 402-317-5747.
And if you're looking to buy or sell, be sure and give me a call at 785-213-5188. And thanks for listening to Real Estate 101.
Thank you for listening to Real Estate 101 with the Carrie Brown team from Preferred Advisors.